Hey everyone, we're getting pretty close to 1 o'clock here Eastern time, so we'll give folks another minute or so to keep joining us, and we'll try to kick things off right on time here. All right, looks like we are at 1 o'clock Eastern, so we'll kick things off. Firstly, just wanted to say thank you to everyone for joining us here today. I'm Matt Murphy. I am the Vice President of IBISWorld's Commercial Banking Division, and today I'm joined by Josh Morozowski, who is our Director of Product Growth and Integration. Today's topic is better understanding your customer's market and local economy. This is something that we're really excited to talk to some of our clients and prospective clients that are joining us here today alike, because it's a question we've gotten literally for years. You know, IBISWorld's providing industry information, industry averages to hundreds of banks. One thing that we hear oftentimes is, how can I get more information about my client's industry at the state or at the local level? You know, national industry averages are great. It's a great way to benchmark, but if I have a customer that I'm working with and they only operate in a handful of counties or a handful of states, perhaps your bank or your credit union only operates in a handful of counties or a handful of states as well. How do we drill down and find more information about those local geographies so that we can make our conversations with those clients more relevant? We can make our credit memos more relevant to state and local economies. So it's something that we're really excited about. And the good news is IBISWorld has a solve for this problem now. We have a new product called our State Collection that Josh is actually going to be taking us through. So stay tuned for that. We're even going to offer a free trial to anyone that would like to take the new State Collection for a test drive. So I'm going to be launching a poll at the end of the meeting if you do want a free trial of what Josh shows us shortly. Before we get into that, just a couple housekeeping things. We are recording this session, and there will be a video sent out if you're an attendee. It'll be available to anyone that registered for the webinar. So that's definitely going to be something you have access to after this. Any questions that you might have along the way, feel free to drop them into the question box here in the GoToWebinar. We're going to try to keep this to 30 minutes max, so if we don't get to all the questions, rest assured we will make sure to follow up with any questions or follow on any questions via email after the fact. So any questions are definitely welcome. I'm also going to solicit feedback from folks too. I'm going to be sharing an email address that we have within our commercial banking division. So any feedback you have on the new product that we're going to be showing, any feedback you have about using more state and local information to talk to clients or underwrite commercial loans, please make sure to give us that feedback. We're always looking for it to help enhance our product, make the IBISWorld product better. And then lastly, I'm probably going to be putting up another couple polls throughout the webinar itself. So I want to make this as interactive as possible. So feel free to jump in and answer those polls, and we'll see what types of results that we get. As I mentioned, we have a lot of folks on the line right now that are current clients or current users of IBISWorld, but we also have a number of folks that maybe aren't currently using IBISWorld. So just in order to do a bit of a level set, I suppose, I just want to talk a little bit about who IBISWorld is and how banks and credit unions use us. So IBISWorld, in a nutshell, we're the largest provider of industry-level data and risk analysis in the United States. We've been around for over 50 years. These days, we work with over 500 banks and credit unions, and we cover over 1,500 industries. So really just about any type of industry that your customer is operating in, IBISWorld is going to have relevant industry statistics and forecasts to help you engage with those clients better, to help you benchmark those clients better, and hopefully mitigate risk as well. That leads to my next point. Each industry we cover also has an industry risk rating report. Those are updated monthly, and we're actually providing risk scores for every industry that we report on. Those look at the risks inherent in each industry over the next 12 to 18 months specifically. So you're getting a forward-looking risk score with every industry that you have access to. And then lastly, our most recent update, which is our new state collection, where we now have over 23,000 state-level industry reports available through the IBISWorld database. We really try to help our customers in a few different ways, and there's a few different ways that we've been hearing banks and credit unions segmenting their customers. So I want to talk a little bit about that first before we jump into the state product. Really, the first and foremost way that IBISWorld is helping its banking clients is just understanding the industry or the NAICS code that your client operates in. What are the current industry revenue growth rates? What are the current industry profit margins, key financial ratios? I mentioned forecasts earlier. That's all stuff that's going to be really helpful throughout the loan cycle. We also realize that you might have a couple, clients that operate in the same industry. One client might have 5 employees. The other client might have 50 employees. Let's say they're both trucking companies. You can have different revenue sizes and different employee sizes within a single industry. So the second thing we always want to take into consideration is the business size of your client. How much revenue they're generating, what's their employee size, because you don't want to compare a 5-employee company to a 50-employee company, even if they operate within the same industry. So we want to be very cognizant of the different growth rates, the different trends that we notice based on not just the industry a company operates in, but on the size of that business in said industry. Now, lastly, the thing that we're going to focus on for the most part today is the third component that you want to look at is also the geography or the market that client operates in. That's another thing that's going to have a pretty big impact on the performance of a given company. So first looking at the industry, then the business size, and then the market that they operate in. I think if COVID taught us anything, it's that, especially if you're thinking about industries like hotels or restaurants, an industry that is, an operator that is in Florida is going to be performing very differently than an operator that's, say, in New York or New Jersey, for instance. So these, local economies and these local trends are going to have a pretty big impact on the performance of a business and, how you maybe want to approve or price a loan to an operator in that industry. Now, before I dive into some of the different ways we help relationship managers specifically and the ways that some of this information might help credit analysts specifically, I want to throw up a quick poll because we've got a really big group here. We've got over 300 people on this call right now. So I'd be very curious to hear from you guys, how easily accessible is this type of information already within your organization or at your institution? Are you easily able to find access to information on, industries at the local level, how, local economies or state economies are impacting, your clients? We've heard different answers in the past, but I figure this is a great way to kind of see, what people are, thinking about in terms of their own institutions. You might be at a small community bank where you only operate in a few counties. You might be at a national institution where, you operate in all 50 states. It's going to be kind of dependent on the size of your organization, the size of your client. So we might get kind of a mixed bag of results, but I am curious to see what those might be. All right, so let's see. I'm going to close the poll out and take a look at some of the results here. So it looks like we had 19% of people say that yes, they do have this information easily acceptable. We had 24% of people say no, the information is just not accessible at all. And then 58% of people saying sometimes the information is accessible. It just depends on the industry or the maybe state or local economy that they're looking for. So definitely kind of mixed results. So more or less, sometimes this information can be difficult to find, especially if you don't, operate out of a large metropolitan area. So, Josh is going to be taking us through some of that in just a little bit here. So I'm going to bring it back to my screen here so everyone can see that. So I wanted to talk first and foremost about relationship management and how state and local information can pertain to new business within a bank or credit union. The first thing that we're going to cover is prospecting. Having more information about what industries are concentrated in your specific market is very important, but also understanding which industries in your specific market are also low risk. What industries in that market are also capital intensive, so you have an ability to sell them a wider range of products. So that's something that having more state and local information is going to help you do. You're not just reaching out to any and all, industries, any and all businesses within your area. You have a much more targeted approach if you know what industries are already concentrated in your backyard and which industries are going to be palatable to your credit team if you're a relationship manager. The second way in which we can help on the business development side of things is preparation, having more information to have targeted conversations with your clients, not just talking to them about their industry writ large, but talking to them about certain headwinds or tailwinds they might be facing as an operator within a certain state or a certain county. That's definitely going to help you, set yourself apart from any other bankers that they're meeting with, is if you have more of a local perspective to your pitch. And then lastly, pre-screening. A lot of the lenders we work with these days say that they are trying to look at, some of the information that they know their credit team is going to be looking at when underwriting the loan, whether that be, the cash flow information or, a SWOT analysis of the business, just knowing the most about the client industry, or then passing that information along to the credit team so that they're making sure that that loan of theirs is, getting approved or at least getting priced appropriately. So hearing a lot about lenders pre-screening deals before handing them over to their credit teams. As far as the folks in underwriting, the ways in which we're going to help and with this state and local information is going to be incredibly useful is just in benchmarking. So you want to look at not just how your client's cash flow compares to national averages, but how does their cash flow compare to the revenue growth of that industry in that particular state. Again, businesses, even if they're in the same industry, are going to operate very differently depending on the state or county in which they're located. Also, the external drivers, things like tax rates or, local disposable income trends are going to have a huge influence on the performance of a business that you might be working with. So understanding what some of those state and local drivers are is going to be really valuable, and something that Josh is going to talk about in just a second here. And then lastly, just having a more local market analysis, being able to flesh out your credit memo with more state and local information and make sure you're mitigating any risk that might be associated with some of those headwinds that are happening at the state and local level. Is just going to mean that you've got more due diligence done on the credit side of things, and you're adding a deeper perspective to the industry portion of the credit memo. So I'm going to hand things over to Josh, who's going to share his screen with everyone, and he's going to pop open the IBISWorld database. We're going to look at some of these state and local industry data points that we have available now. Like I mentioned earlier, if you have any feedback along the way for us, we're always looking to hear from you. If this information seems helpful, what's helpful about it, if there's things that you're looking for at the state and local level, we're always looking to make improvements to the product. So, please email us at commercial-banking@ibisworld.com, because, we always love to hear from clients and prospective clients alike. So do want to throw that out there. But without further ado, I'm going to send things over to Josh here. Again, he's going to share his screen. He's going to go open the IBISWorld database, which will hopefully look familiar to a lot of you. But if it doesn't, he's going to kind of kick us off from the homepage, I believe.
Great, thanks, Matt. Really do appreciate that. And I'm excited to kind of go over some of the new enhancements that IBISWorld has to offer today. That being said, a little bit of background, I've been with IBISWorld for close to a decade at this stage. The majority of that time has been spent as a CRM, a client relationship manager. So I've had the privilege of working with banks of all different sizes across the country during that tenure. And the most frequent thing that I've been asked kind of over the years has been, can you provide me with more information based on my customer or my prospect, based on where they're located, based on the size of the business? So about a year ago, we did release segment benchmarking, which breaks down our industry reports by different customer size to be able to compare performances based on those metrics. But we're really excited today to be able to kind of have that two-pronged approach of answering those questions that we got asked plenty of times over the years, to be able to have a solution, as Matt had mentioned, to kind of really help position you with more information and be better prepared to assess your customer's risk or be able to meet with the customer in person. So with that being said, just to kind of show the overall breadth of the collection, Matt had mentioned that there are 23,000 different industry reports that we're covering across all 50 of these states. So you have a drop-down menu on the US state reports just to kind of show all 50 states, but wanted to show some of the granularity. So these reports are going to be written at the 5-digit NAICS level, where our national industry reports are as well. We understand that granularity of having information at the level where your customers operate is extremely important, and being able to now cover really all the industries within your footprint. On average, we have about 460 industry reports per state. Certainly that will vary based on the size and the operating environment that's included in each of the local markets. But it's something that we're extremely excited about and be able to show. For today's example, we're going to look at home care providers within an area. And I know that's something that is a growing industry, certainly across the country. Overall, there's been M&A that's prevalent within there. Healthcare reform has given benefits as well as drawbacks. There's been investments in new technology since it's an extremely competitive market. And they're looking to make specifications for different products and new enhancements at the business level. And I promise I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, but I was able to read our national industry report, get some key trends to better understand the industry as you would kind of within your roles, but really wanted to be able to kind of position this back today and really focus on why local information becomes really important as part of that process. And I was thinking about that this weekend, while doing nothing else, watching my beloved Jets. So I'm happy to report in October is the first time I could probably proudly out loud say I am a Jets fan, still at this stage. But what got brought up was Tyreek Hill was a player. The Jets play the Miami Dolphins, and Tyreek Hill is one of the best receivers in the NFL. He had an opportunity to either join the New York Jets, really the New Jersey Jets, or the Miami Dolphins. And what really played into his decision was state income tax. So he chose to play with the Miami Dolphins this year because of that reason. That was one of the headline stories going into the week, before I was able to enjoy a Jets victory, this area. And it's just a small example of that things that we know, your local environment, your local economy, these different nuances that we see are extremely important, and they can allow you to also target the customer or the prospect that you're working with better support or differentiation, that you're able to have here. So want to be able to highlight one of the first things that we see here in the state industry report, and we can see the number of establishment growth, and we're honing in on Missouri. So we can see it's growing at 8.6% compared to the national average. So there's a lot of new businesses and more new businesses within the state of Missouri than we're seeing on the national level. So this is an industry, as Matt had mentioned, from a prospecting standpoint. If you are within kind of Missouri, this would be an industry that you can kind of take a look on, as there's lots of new entrants within the marketplace today. You have the ability to also compare different insights like revenue, like employment, like wages across the board on your state level compared to the national trends. Right below here, we'll have the current performance and outlook. This is one of the most popular chapters by our banking customers, both by relationship managers to either get up to speed on the industry in a 3-paragraph form or to share with some of their customers, but also from underwriters and including these insights, as it talks about what's happened over the last 5 years as well as the next 5 years within their credit memos. So this can give you some additional insight on the local economy, not just from a data perspective, but some qualitative assessment, which you'll see as a theme throughout the IBISWorld reports, both in our national area as well as our state industry reports. As we continue to scroll down through this report, just kind of highlighting a couple of different areas, we talked about the qualitative assessment. You also have the ability to share charts, to share graphs. So even in this case, if we're looking at something within Missouri, maybe you're in Jefferson County, as we can use this example out in Kansas City, and you're kind of want to compare or working with a customer that maybe wants to go through some M&A or kind of natural growth across state borders, we're able to provide what the difference may be between Kansas as well as Missouri here, compared to the US trends. So this is just a great example of being able to take a screenshot, download the chart, share it with your customer or prospect, or include it within your underwriting assessment on how there may be differences between the two local economies.
And Josh, you mentioned us working with banks of all shapes and sizes. We have plenty of regional banks that maybe only operate in a handful of states. This really gives you an opportunity to look at the performance of a single industry in your portfolio and how that industry, I should say, is performing across maybe a few different state lines. And it just speaks to the interactivity here as well, because while I'm sure a lot of the folks that already use IBISWorld, maybe some do, some don't, or people that don't quite use this yet, you can take this information. It's meant to be very interactive, and you can also, take our analysis, copy and paste it into your credit memo. If you'd like, grab our statistics and put them into the credit memo. We want this information to be a time saver for you. So you're fleshing out that credit memo, but you're also saving yourself the time of having to do some of that more state or regional research.
Yeah, 100%, Matt. It's well said. Moving on to the next kind of area of the industry performance at a state level, we'll kind of highlight some key external drivers. These are a key portion to our risk rating reports that Matt kind of mentioned within our national industry reports. So we'll kind of keep those listed here as well, those external drivers. If we're looking in the home care providers, things like federal funding for Medicare and Medicaid, a growing age in the population, some different positive influences in this case that we would be seeing. But we also want to overlay the Missouri economic indicators, what's happening within the local market that may be driving or opportunistic or potential threats to operators, businesses within this space. This gives you a little bit of a sneak peek of our state economic profile, which I'll jump into in just one moment. But really being able to have this insight of key national drivers versus local drivers all in one place to kind of save you time when positioning this to customers or from an evaluation standpoint. We do see another chart here. Just wanted to kind of mention, you have the ability to download any of this information. Certainly it is interactive. You saw the chart above. You can download this as an image, as raw data, really being able to share that insight as Matt had mentioned. Scrolling down a bit more, we talked about kind of state level insight, and I kind of made up the example of being able to kind of hone in on where your customer is located. So we do have a deeper dive into some county level information as well. So if we continue with the area within kind of Jackson County in this case, we can kind of see what the trends are. It seems like Jackson County is growing the number of businesses quicker than the overall state of Missouri with 11%. But again, just examples of being able to provide both quantitative information as well as some qualitative insights, right? This is a nice way to be able to pass additional information or value-added insights to your customers or prospects to increase the level of detail that you're able to provide within a credit memo through your analysis, both not only at a state level, but even down to the actual county where your customer may be located or operating within. And then finally, did want to highlight some of the key statistics. If you are an IBISWorld customer, you may be familiar with some of this data, providing some of the raw data for you to be able to download or include within assessments or share with your customers, again, gives you that ability. I do want to jump into the state economic profile. So you'll have a link through the state industry report. You can also pull these up through a search or through the industry research button up top, where you can see our two updated kind of areas of these state reports and economic profiles. So we're pulling some macroeconomic information for our state economic overview. Being able to look at gross state product, establishment growth, unemployment, the corporate tax rate, a lot of this publicly founded information, but consolidating it in a nice, easy way to save you time to be able to get up to speed on what's happening in the local environment. I'm going to continue to scroll down as we'll see some of the independent factors that are impacting the local economy as well. So some of those additional driver insights from housing affordability, domestic migration, business climate. Certainly housing affordability comes up. My wife watches HGTV quite often. You can kind of compare what a certain house, what you can get in different locations across the country. These different trends are extremely different. They could even be different within a state itself, but certainly across state borders as well. So
Josh, I think the other area where this is helpful too is that we work with a lot of banks that maybe only have physical locations in oftentimes one single state. However, their lending footprint is nationwide. So even if you don't have boots on the ground in a particular state, but you want to understand, what these trends are in a faraway state and how you can take advantage of certain attributes of the state or be aware of certain risks that might be inherent in these state regulations or state trends, you can definitely get a look at this, even if you're several states away.
100%, Matt. I just want to continue down through some of these additional views. We saw some of the interactiveness with the charts of the state industry report. That will also be true within the economic profile as well, to be able to look at things like the gross state product, the population growth, and different kind of metric data across the board. But do want to jump into this industry and sector statistics chapter, as this gets a little bit more back to the granularity aspect of IBISWorld and kind of where our value add will be as well. So we do start out with some sector level insights, a little bit of a higher level. Think your manufacturing, your wholesale distribution, your retail, and so forth, to be able to look at a high level how the state is kind of made up across the different economy. But do want to scroll down into the industry leaders and laggers, so we'll be able to provide you a top 5 quick list. But if you can scroll down right below here also, we'll provide a full view of the granularity that IBISWorld has. So we were looking at home care providers just a minute ago within the state of Missouri. You have the ability to look across all the industries in each state that you're targeting and be able to sort right on the website by revenue growth. So if you want to see what the fastest growing industry is by revenue, by establishment, by wages or other metrics, you're able to kind of do a quick sort. Again, this information is exportable as well. And to Matt's kind of point earlier on in his PowerPoint presentation introduction, this is really going to be a big enhancement to prospecting efforts. Being able to identify growing industries within your market and then being able to kind of use additional resources the bank may have at their disposal to look up different companies, different that are within that footprint, and able to target and use IBISWorld to help cater your message when reaching out to those prospects, to those customers within potential new markets and new areas. So I'm going to continue to move down through here, and we can see a kind of full list of 100 out of the 660 different industry reports within the state of Missouri, and move on to the county economic data that we provide. So as we saw within the state industry report, just like in the economic profile also, you do have the ability to drill down by county level insights. So we'll have macroeconomic information not only at the state level, but also on the county level. So you just select the county within the chart or the drop down that you would see listed up top here and be able to pull that insight as well. So just to give it an idea, we had the same kind of similar chart that you can do at the county level, which is loaded once I selected Jackson County here, where you're able to then filter what's the fastest growing area within Jackson County. We understand, as Matt mentioned, everyone's footprint is unique. It could be across multiple states, it could be nationwide, it could be half of a state or a specific region. So really being able to kind of filter down and target more granular based on where your kind of footprint is or where your customer is located is something that we're really excited about being able to do. The final area that I'll highlight within the economic profiles are going to be some more kind of operating environment, macro information again. So bringing the insights into the tax environment, the different labor market that's happening within the industry. We saw some of these on that front page, but diving a bit deeper into some of those kind of macroeconomic trends throughout, being able to see some of the larger employers within a state. Some of this may be really well known, but if you're living in one state, working with customers in another, a great reminder of who some of the major players might be within a specific locality. And then as we continue here, some of the building and construction trends, thinking of some of our CRE and owner-occupied information that kind of IBISWorld helps significantly with, and moving down to the housing market and some state demographics. So something that I did want to kind of just pause and kind of end probably today's overview with of the state economic profile was an article that I read in the American Banker. I believe it was in August 2022, but it discussed kind of the small and mid-sized businesses having some frustrations with their financial partners. So that certainly caught my eye right away. And what the article kind of took a look at was the second largest reason why a business was switching financial institutions was because they felt like their current bank didn't understand their business enough, right? They didn't understand the company, they didn't understand their industry that they're within. Certainly in today's world, differentiation across the banks is something that's been a focus, and becoming more of a trusted advisor, being able to deliver value-added information and kind of take a consultative approach is something that's been a major focus from all the conversations that I've had, certainly over the last few years. But I think that's a growing trend that we're all kind of getting to know and become more comfortable with, and having information where you can spend just a couple minutes to get an overview, but then even a few more to have a really targeted approach to your customer, to your prospect, whether you're a relationship manager, an underwriter, a portfolio manager, really across the board to be able to connect with your customers can really kind of differentiate you within the marketplace and kind of deliver that value-added information to earn longer-term customer relationships.
Yeah, thanks for that, Josh. I'll take the screen back here too, and I just want to, share again the email that we have available for any feedback that anyone would like to give us about what they saw today about the product, or just any thoughts that you have on using, state and local industry information as a whole. I'm also going to throw up on here another poll that we have here. This will just be essentially an offer to take this new state industry collection for a test drive. So if you like what Josh was just talking about, you want to play around with some of the different industry reports that might be within your footprint, your bank's footprint, please just respond to this poll here, and we'll make sure that your client relationship manager reaches out and that they set you up with a free trial of our new state collection. So while we're responding to that, I'm just gonna answer a few questions. I know we got only a couple minutes left, but I did want to make sure that we got to those. We did have one person ask whether the new state collection shows national and local information side by side. It doesn't compare the county information with the US information, unless, Josh, you want to correct me if I'm wrong there, but it will always show the state averages versus the national averages. So if you're in a state report of, say, an industry in Missouri, it is always going to give you the ability to compare that industry's revenue growth and establishment growth with the industry as it is nationwide. So the short answer to that one is yes. We had someone ask about whether our NAICS codes have been updated, and if you can find information by searching for NAICS codes. That's 100% right. So you can search for any industry that you're looking for in IBISWorld by either a keyword or the NAICS code. For the time being, we are still on the 2017 NAICS because there hasn't been new data released by places like the Census Bureau or the Bureau of Labor Statistics in order for us to update the actual data in these reports. But if you can't find something via a NAICS code, I would always just recommend using a keyword search. So if you're looking for, say, chicken production, I would just plug in the word chicken, and the database should return results to you just like a simple Google search would at the end of the day. Someone else had asked about our Canada industry information. If you are interested in any provincial information or information on industries in Canada in general, we're actually having a very similar webinar same time next week that is going to be talking about our new provincial collection. So while this was focused on the US economy and state and county level information, we do have new industry reports for all the provinces up in Canada, and we'll be doing a similar walkthrough of provincial information for Canadian IBISWorld clients next week. So we can definitely make sure that if you ask that question, your client relationship manager reaches out to you and make sure that you get an invite to that other one that we're hosting. The only other question we had before we go is I did see a question about where the information is coming from, our state and local data that kind of ties into the NAICS point. A lot of this information is coming from the Census Bureau and the Bureau of Economic Analysis. It's coming from county business patterns, the statistics of US businesses. So we're basically consolidating a lot of the data from these government sources, but then all the analysis, all the interactivity that is specific to IBISWorld. So the different, qualitative points that you see within the reports, those are all going to be specific to IBISWorld. So, you can feel free to quote us or source us, like I mentioned earlier. But yeah, you can definitely rest assured that the information is coming from a variety of sources, and it's a lot to do with the Census Bureau and the Bureau of Economic Analysis. If there's any questions that we didn't get to,
and Matt, I did see two more questions just come through, just asking if you can do the inverse and really search for an industry by breakdown by state. The answer to that is going to be yes. So not every bank or current subscriber has access to our state industry reports, but we have updated our geographic breakdown chapter within the industry report, which will certainly allow you to look at an industry and be able to see kind of different growth rates across each state as well.
Yeah, thanks for that, Josh. And definitely, if there's other questions, I would say we can, definitely make sure that you send anything you'd like over to that commercial-banking@ibisworld.com. Any questions that we didn't get to, we can 100% follow up on after the fact. But we really appreciate everyone joining us here today. We are very excited because this is something that's been in the works for a long time here at IBISWorld. But at the end of the day, we just realized that having more information at your fingertips, whether it's through IBISWorld or anywhere else you can find this information, is incredibly valuable to bankers. The feedback we've been getting from the banks that are already subscribed to our new industry research at the state level has been fantastic. And I just want to say one more time that it's something that's been long coming and something that we are pumped about on the IBISWorld side of things. So I'm looking forward to any feedback anyone has. We'll definitely be reaching out to anyone that requested a trial, so stay tuned for that. And as mentioned earlier, there will be a video available, so we'll be following up with that as well. Josh, did you have anything else you want to share?
No, thank you. I appreciate everybody's time.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Take care.